Hello, welcome to episode 7 of One Pint, One Song. My name's Elliot Porter, and this is the show where I talk to a singer-songwriter or an artist about one of their songs and also a song which they absolutely love, which is a cover by someone else. I hope you're all enjoying the kind of unseasonably warm weather we've got here in the UK. I don't think it's going to last long, so hopefully you've enjoyed it for the past couple of days and now you're kind of settling down for the evening to watch things like this. So if you're listening on audio, this is a video podcast, but it's available on audio on Spotify, Anchor FM, and loads of other places you can get your podcasts. So it comes out about 2 or 3 days after this live show. So if you're listening on audio, hello and welcome. If there's any live questions from the audience tonight, I will read them out and you'll be able to hear them from myself and my guest. So this is episode 7. Thank you so much for being with us for the past 2 or 3 months. Started this during the pandemic and it looks like it's going to continue because one thing, it's so much fun to chat with people that I haven't seen for ages and learn new things and find out what they're doing. And also because, you know, it's a Wednesday night, unless we have gigs, why not? And if you would like to subscribe to the channel, look on the bottom there. It's along the bottom, it's scrolling. Anyone listening on audio, it's YouTube at Elliot Porter Music. And then you get a notification every time we go live. So if you are out and about or you miss it for any reason, it gives you a notification. And of course it will stay on Facebook and everywhere for eternity, really, until we take it down. If you've got any questions, put them in the box and I will ask them. We do normally do the questions at the end, but I can do them as we go if it's relating to what we're talking about. Or you can just send us a random hello, send us a wave or something like that. And yeah, please get involved. So I'm very pleased today to welcome someone that I haven't seen for a while, but we met a few years ago on a tour in the UK. But this particular artist is not actually from the UK. So Christina Martin is an award-winning roots rock artist and a really great songwriter, a great storyteller, and I'm excited to hear a bit more about the songs today. So please welcome Christina Martin. How you doing, Christina?
Hey, great, Elliot. It's awesome to see you and be here. Thanks for having me.
It's so cool. Yeah, I'm so glad you could do it because I wasn't sure what the time difference was across there in Canada. And I believe it's somewhere in the afternoon, isn't it? Some
Yeah,
mid-afternoon.
last week y'all were 3 hours ahead, and this week 4 hours, and our time changes are not lined up for some reason. So like
Yeah,
I thought it was three. It's four. It's 3:30 here now.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
beautiful sunny day in Nova Scotia.
Oh, Nova Scotia. Has it been snowing over there or is it?
Oh, we've had our share of snow. It was really actually a good winter for snowshoeing and cross country
Cool.
skiing and skiing in general. And we were out hiking actually the trails all winter here around where we live in North Shore, Nova Scotia. Um, so yeah, we've had snow. It's gone now though. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
warmed up. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, yeah, as I was just saying in the intro, we've had this really strange heat wave this week. It was like 24 degrees yesterday from virtually nothing about a week ago. So
Yeah.
everyone was in shorts and t-shirts yesterday, which was it was kind of nice actually.
Yeah.
After being locked down for so long and kind of the dark and cold winter, it was nice that the sun actually came out. So
Yeah, it's same over here. 15 degrees Celsius here today, and we're not in shorts, but we're gonna go out for a hike and hopefully get some vitamin D.
oh yeah, it's so vital, and yeah, I've been spending a lot of time walking during lockdown because there's not really been much else to do, and it's so good for you, isn't it? It's so good for your mind, it's so good for your health, and
Yeah,
you get to see things which you know when as you're a busy musician, so am I, and a lot of the time I'm like that, and I don't look around enough. I don't think so.
Yeah, like at the beginning of this lockdown, we were very fortunate to live in a pretty rural area in Nova Scotia, and we just said we're gonna get out for an hour or an hour and a half every day, and try to like we tried to create like a routine where we didn't really need to. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I just it was really to keep mentally and physically fit, and I mean, if you can do that, you're in a better position to get through this. I
yeah,
think it's no guarantee, but
yeah.
but you and I think you can test to also not having as much, before this all happened, not really
Mm.
having loads of time to focus on your health or to go hiking and explore, nature, or just take care of yourself. Like, I mean, can I ask you questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's I love the format because it's kind of pretty open. So yeah, there's you can ask me questions, but yeah, exactly, you're exactly right because yeah, you kind of just get into this kind of gigging kind of mentality. So I suppose you have like a gig fitness,
Mm,
but you don't often look at your health so much, and you don't do things so much like walks. So maybe you would if you went somewhere and you got a few hours to spare or something. But I don't think I'd ever walked down the river, and I live on the river, and I don't think I'd ever really walked down the river. And I probably lived here about 4 years, 5 years, and
yeah.
now I just discovered what nice walks there are. So
Same here. Like we've been hiking these like trails that are they're curated, like they're looked
mm,
after in national parks right where we live, and we had no idea. We used to complain there's nowhere to hike, there's nowhere to walk, we have to go to the city which is 2 hours away. It's
yeah.
total BS. Like there's so much here, and oh, hi Chloe, I'm seeing a
Ah, yeah.
comment.
We got some nice
uh
comments coming in. I'll put them on the screen as they come in.
cool. Oh, you control the comments.
Yeah, yeah. That's my one privilege of being the host.
Is that like to kind of to sort out like the I don't know, the hackers or the people that might comment illy on our hair or our physique? Is that, do
the
you get
riff
like,
yeah, the riff raff, yeah, definitely. That's my job to kind of like moderate, I suppose. Yeah, but
oh,
generally we get a nice audience on this show. But there is the odd one that sneaks through who who says some funny things. But
oh, it's actually Claire and Bruce. It's not Chloe. I got
oh,
it. They're
okay,
using.
yeah, because I should basically explain to the listeners before I do that. Hello, Mitch. Looking forward to having you play at my pub, dude. Me too, man. I'm looking forward to it. That's one of my first gigs
Oh
back
yeah.
when we actually manage to do gigs again in about a month or so, I think. So,
Oh cool.
but I should probably mention how I met you was basically you were doing a tour in Europe, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
all over Europe, Germany, Poland, and places like that. Maybe the Netherlands, I can't remember.
Probably.
Yeah, you
Just
tour
throw them in
everywhere,
there.
don't you?
Just throw them in
Yeah.
there. Whoever will have us, we will probably try and make it. Yeah, just even if it's a
Yeah.
big detour.
Oh, I love that. I love that ethos and playing house concerts and stuff like that because I love doing that myself. And yeah, I think I got talking to your agent or something, and I was like, well, I'm putting on a show in Cambridge.
Hmm.
Would you like to come and play it? So you came and played the Cambridge show. We had a bit of a day in Cambridge. We had a few hours to walk around. I remember we walked around a bit, had a coffee. We did a radio show actually, didn't we? I think as well.
Yeah, we may have. It was lovely. That's all I remember, it being lovely and meeting and your parents, and we had a really nice meal at
Yeah,
your
yeah,
house.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah,
and they're very clean. Like their house is very your house. So you lived there at the time.
I
Or
did
do
at the
you?
time. Yeah,
Oh, you're not still living
I
there?
don't live there
Okay,
anymore.
you
No,
moved out.
no.
You
Yeah,
graduated from. Got it.
I finally moved out. Yeah.
But yeah, it was super lovely, and we did that show, and I got to borrow your audience for the night in that great venue. Is that still happening? That venue? I mean,
Yeah, so it
around.
was the Portland Arms, I believe, in Cambridge, and it's one of my favourite venues to play. I suppose Cambridge is like my local show, I suppose, as well. So Yeah, it was a lovely gig, and I think we had maybe one or two other maybe one other artist played as well.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I remember we sat around chatting for hours afterwards, having some wine and stuff, and just chatting. But my parents were there,
Yeah.
so that's them saying hello. It's actually Claire and Bruce using Chloe's iPad. Oh,
Is
so
Chloe
hello.
your sis? Is who's Chloe? Is that your sister? Did I meet
Chloe's my
Chloe?
sister. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Did I meet Chloe?
I don't believe she was there. She travels a lot, and tours a bit. She's a singer as well, and
Mm-hmm.
I think she may have been on a. I might get this wrong, but she probably was on a cruise or doing a show, traveling around the UK or somewhere
Oh, okay.
at the time. So you probably wouldn't have met her, but now she kind of like sings with me sometimes.
Mm.
When we do gigs. So the last one we did was probably about 2019, but
Yeah.
as for everyone. So when the pandemic hit, were you on tour then?
Yeah. We were
Mm.
in middle of I think we were 44 tour dates in Central Europe. We were going to be coming over and doing 2 weeks of that would have been in the UK.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And so it was March, 15th that week that everything changed. The Canadian government said we want all Canadians to come back home, and everything that events started canceling sort of overnight, really. And within 4 days, we had gone from, oh, we're going to stay and ride this out to we're on a plane home
yeah.
and not sure how we're going to survive financially or survive at all because there's a global pandemic. I don't know why I'm laughing. I guess that's something I need to sort out in therapy. But so, yes, I was on tour. How about yourself?
Yeah, I was. It was actually going to be a really busy year. I had quite a few gigs lined up, and I just kind of not long ago released an album, so I was hoping to do loads of like gigs for the
Yeah.
album and kind of touring it. I was doing a busking tour as well around that kind of thing. But yeah,
Hmm.
all got cancelled.
Hmm.
All the events got cancelled, so I went online and started doing live shows online, which was actually
Hmm.
quite fun at first.
At
Something
first.
new. Yeah, I haven't done one for a while because I think I'm just missing the real gigs now. How about
Yeah.
you? You've done a few live streams as well, haven't you?
I've done quite a few. I mean,
Mm,
I had to take breaks because what I found with online, and I'm sure you have as well, is, I mean, on a tour, you can make it feel fresh every night because you're
yeah.
bringing new material to a new audience every night. But with online, you do run out of songs, and it's harder to keep yourself like feeling fresh, and I think the audience can read that if you're bored or I mean, so I just, I got into, at first we were just getting on and playing, replacing the gigs that were in person to try to recoup some financial, bits. Then I started curating them more and planning ahead, and that worked really well. But still, like I had to put a time limit on the onlines, and but learned a lot. Like learned some technological skills that I'm still learning, struggling with, um, and I think it forced me to just get better at planning events and thinking about the audience and the engagement. I mean, if you can enjoy and then engage with people this way when you can't really see anybody,
Mm,
unless you're using Zoom, I guess. But I don't know. I imagine it's hopefully going to help us overall anyway. Like it's just kind of a good practice to learn how to think about your show and plan it out and come up with interesting ways to connect with people. Like we've been kind of forced to get way better at it this year. Some people never thought about it before. I mean, I was trying to think about it before this happened, how to engage people online, but I wasn't into performing online.
mm,
I had to get over that like initial, oh no, the quality's gonna suck, or yeah, that was it really. And and just being okay with that. And so it's been interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you mean about the audience because, like you say, on a tour, you take your show to a different audience every night, or generally, and yeah, when you're online, you know you've got a few different people, but it's mainly the same audience and with maybe a few additions, and it is difficult. I tried to do
Hmm.
two. I think I was doing three a week at first,
Yeah.
which was like way too much. But it was fun because it gave me something to do. But yeah, I had to scale it back as well because I just wanted to keep it fresh really, and then I wanted to write new songs and then bring them into the set rather than just kind of playing the same stuff that I've been playing for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned a few new things, and I think my guitar playing got better because I was playing with like headphones on, going like
Hmm.
direct into the software, and I could hear everything. Whereas normally I have my guitar turned down quite low on the
Mm.
monitor because I don't really like hearing it that much. But I
Yeah.
didn't really have a choice here. So, but when I went into the studio, I was like, oh, I'm actually playing a lot better than I normally do in the studio. It must be because of all these live streams, kind of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that was a good thing, I suppose. And did you? I think I saw you. Did you get into Patreon? It's something that I've
Yeah.
heard about and seen people do, but how's that? Is that going well?
Yeah, for anybody who's not heard of Patreon, it's a membership platform that allows creators, not just musicians, to get paid for, the content that they create, the work that they do as artists. And I actually launched mine in 2019, January.
Mm.
And I think at that time I was already thinking, uh, what if I can't tour to earn revenue? What if funding sources in Canada run out? I need to develop a business model for myself that allows me a little bit more freedom to keep doing what's important to me and connect with people online. So I'm glad I did in 2019. And I set it up to support my personal goals as a creator first and foremost. So I didn't want it to be a pressure to be creating new songs for every month or anything like that. I
Hmm.
wanted, yeah, I laid out my goals pretty clearly. And right as of today, I mean, I have 73 patrons supporting me monthly or yearly. You can
Yeah.
opt to have a monthly or year membership, which is nice. Some people prefer just to pay one lump sum, for the year, and then it's a little easier to comprehend than maybe every single month.
Yeah.
And it's helped me get my to help my business get through this pandemic. It's helped me personally. I think try to stick to my creative goals of creating new content, music and writing and videos. And yeah, it's just cool because it's like you're super. It's I think it's really doesn't have and contain all of your super fans because not everyone's going to be into Patreon. They support
Hmm.
in other ways, and that's totally cool. But for the people that want to support you on Patreon, they're usually like super fans. And so it allows you to have like a direct connection as opposed to like an email list might have 2,000 people that, maybe 30% open up your email and 20% are like super fans. So with Patreon, they're pretty much all really big supporters and you know, want anything that you want to share with them. So it's been great for me, really.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think I've seen a few other platforms that do similar things, and I think it is the best way to go, to be honest. Because yeah, does keep people engaged, and it keeps it fresh for people, and also it must be quite fun, I guess, as well. So,
I really have enjoyed it. I mean, I planted a tree and name it after whoever signs up, even
oh
if
wow,
they can't support ongoing. Everyone gets a tree planted and named after them, and I send you a little video and let you know if it's dead or alive the next year. Um, so I have had fun with it, and I mean in other ways as well. But I highly recommend it, like to my friends, and of course, after this, if you have more questions about it, like I think it's great for someone like you.
mm,
And it does require maintenance and but that's something like I think you would fit perfectly with this. I think you can. I think you're a disciplined creator.
yeah,
It's not something that you set up and then people just hordes of people sign up, and it's people come and go, and you have to have a strategy behind it all. But again, it's like I didn't know any of this stuff. Like people oftentimes you hear musicians say, well, I'm no good at that, I can't do that. And I'm like, I couldn't do it either. I was forced to do it, essentially. I mean, it was a choice, but like I really I had to learn how to do this in order to keep doing my chosen profession. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and I think that is the case for a lot of musicians. Yeah, that even if they haven't got those skills, they've learnt those skills during lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're putting them into place. And I started doing I started writing blogs as well, because I do a bit of writing for people as
Mm.
well. And yeah, I kind of, my latest blog, I haven't done it properly, finished it yet, but it was kind of based around there's things that you've learned in this period you don't even probably realize you've learned, like you've just kind of done them, and then when you look back you'll go, oh, I can do that now, or I can do
Yeah.
that, and that wasn't too bad, kind of thing.
Mm.
So no, yeah, it is one of those kind of periods. But
Yeah.
so since I last saw you, I think you've probably released, is it 2 albums? I don't know.
Did we meet in 2000? What year was it again?
I
Did you
think it
release
was
that?
2016. I think.
Okay, so we had since then. I think we released maybe two albums. One would have been like a covers album.
Mm.
One was like a full length, and then two live albums. Um, yeah, so it's been a while,
Yeah,
but not
yeah,
not really. Yeah, seems like
yeah. It's
yesterday.
it's 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 crazy where the time goes, because yeah, I found, I think, is one of them called Wonderful Life.
Oh, Wonderful Lie, yeah. And
Wonderful
we're
Lie.
we're
Yeah,
gonna talk about a song that's basically the title of Wonderful Lies comes from
yeah,
the cover song we'll talk about later. Yeah,
yeah. I thought there might be a connection there, and
yeah,
interestingly as well, like when I was doing my, one thing I like about this show is that I get to listen to everyone's back catalogue again that I haven't met for a while. So I get new songs and stuff. Although the song we're going to talk about is actually one that I already knew, but there was a song I saw on there called Finsbury Park,
That's a new one.
which
Yeah,
that was really cool, because I know Finsbury Park, presuming it's the same Finsbury Park in
it's the
London.
same Finsbury Park. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
We should have
cool.
talked. We could talk about that one if you
I
want.
know, yeah,
We
and
can though. Yeah, because well, I'll tell you quickly. It's not the song we plan on talking about, but the interesting thing about it is like I wrote that song as a engagement gift, a wedding gift, really for my friends in London, and I asked them, "Tell me what your story is." And so they did, and I just put it in the song, and that's what Finsbury Park is. And I didn't really, I didn't have a lot of marketing money to push in, and it wasn't a song that we focused on when we released that covers album. But interestingly enough, like it's been picked up by some CBC radio stations and generating like residual royalties, like passive money. And so that's interesting to me because I didn't know how, if anybody would be interested in it apart from the two people I wrote it for. So yeah, it's cool that you picked up on it. I guess it's more for a UK audience.
yeah, because I saw it on the album list, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go and listen to that one, because I actually, and funnily enough, I think one of the lyrics in it was about a date in Finsbury Park, and I actually did once go on a date in Finsbury Park.
Oh, that's
And
really that's great.
yeah, and it was, I remember it was freezing cold, but it was kind of romantic, because it was just, it's just a nice kind of a nice park, I suppose. And yeah, so
Yeah.
I had to ask you about that, because I noticed it on the album list, and I was like, wow, cool, Finsbury Park.
Yeah, I used to actually when we were staying with my friends, I would jog there, and I believe it was Finsbury Park. I think it was.
Mm.
Anyway, so I know, and also I had that connection to it as well, just like sort of that idea of being in London and this, and it was very romantic in a nice neighborhood. I actually can't remember what is the neighborhood there that it is in. Is there another name for that?
So there's a place called Finsbury Park,
Yeah,
and the whole area is like Islington kind of
yeah,
area.
yeah.
So I know it well, because it's kind of like where some of my family were originally from. So
Okay.
and I've actually spent a lot of time around there. So yeah, I know it well,
Very cool. Very cool.
which is cool. But we are not actually going to talk about that song. We're going to
Yeah.
talk about an older song, but a song which I remember from the live set when you played. I think we ended up doing about 2 gigs together, somewhere else in the UK as well, probably London. And I remember this song because it kind of stuck out. And I remember there was what I like about your live shows is you always tell like really funny stories on stage before the song, or you kind of paint the picture of the song. And I think that really helps. Like, especially, it must really help audiences that maybe, coming from Canada into Europe. It must really help. Do you find it really helps engage those audiences a bit more?
I think it does. I hope it does. And I wouldn't do it if my music was, super popular and people had already heard it. But I feel like the context, like building a context behind it sometimes can help because yeah, most of the audience has not heard the song, so you kind of want to connect something like in there before, and then people have said that it helps, and especially when we're touring places where there's a language barrier in Germany, and I speak some German, but like I'll try to give them a little something because I'm singing in English. There are people that in the audience that some of them don't. It's not their first, second, or third language, and so yeah, and I mean it's also like sometimes the music can feel, especially when we don't play it with a full band, like can feel pretty heavy. So for me, I like to have fun, and it's nice opportunity if I'm like feeling it. Like not every day like I feel up to like joking around or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's a nice place where I can be authentic and in between songs sometimes and just kind of laugh at myself. So yeah, I think it helps, but there's a time too when it's not necessary to talk or set
Yeah.
up a song. Like I like those opportunities, but I realize like sometimes my songs are a little cryptid or cryptive or just yeah, nobody will have a clue what
And
they're
I guess
about.
that's the art of the performance is picking those times when you do talk about it, and then picking those times when maybe you just go straight into it.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
So with this song, I
Mm.
know there's a story with it, which again is why we kind of a good reason why we picked it. So it's called Puppet Museum, which is a great title anyway. It already kind of brings up loads of imagery in your mind, just
Yeah.
the title. But what was the story behind that one?
Well, I had come back from touring in Europe. I think it would have been a 2014 tour, and we had by that time we had dipped into from Germany. We'd gone into the Netherlands, and I think we had our first like 3 week long tour in the Netherlands, which is actually quite long for such a small country, and so coming back, I guess from that tour, I remember sitting down to work on new material and having imagery and visuals and like a vibe, a scent, like a rhythm, and I think that came from it was sort of like all collecting and then coming out once I was sitting still at home in one place. It was coming back to me and missing these places that we'd been touring, and I kind of honed in on the Netherlands because it was kind of new and fresh to me. But I had been to the Netherlands prior. When I was younger, I'd been to Amsterdam for like, a day or two and then had to go and not really gotten to experience it and always
Hmm.
wanting to go back, and that feeling comes up a lot on tour, like you see a little bit of a place and you meet these great people or you get a little taste and then I come home and I'm just like craving going back and learning more and just exploring more. So, um, this song, we had played our first show in Amsterdam. So going not as a tourist, but as a musician, I suppose, at a place called the Bulldog Hotel, which is in sort
Oh,
of central red light district. You're
I
familiar with
know
it?
it actually. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, well, so I emailed a lot of places to play, and that was the one place that got back to me, and they said, we'd love to have you play. We'll feed you. We'll put you up for a couple days. They might have paid us, but I cannot remember. I don't think so. But for us, that was like enough, right? We're like, sweet, we got
mm,
accommodations and meal. So we went and we set up to play, and I remember there being a lot of television sets, like screens on, like all around this bar, and the soccer games were on, and they didn't shut them off while we played. And we're like in this
yeah,
kind of dark corner. Um, it's very smoky because you could smoke in the bars back
yeah,
then, and
yeah,
everybody treated us really well. Like the staff was wonderful. The manager, in particular, the guy who I had been emailing with too, and said we could come. Um, he was just really nice. And when I first met him, I had this impression of him because he was wearing like a very looked to be like an expensive Italian suit, gray, and his hair was like greased back, and he just had this like tough guy kind of vibe about him, and but very polite, very businesslike. But I sort of was like, I wonder if this guy like is in like the local mafia on the side or something. Like
yeah.
he just kind of reeked of like influence and power. And so after our show, I I remember sitting at the bar with him and just we started talking. And I really love finding out about other people, like after the shows. Like it's a nice break from talking about myself. And I remember asking him, about living in, raising a family in Amsterdam. So he told me a bunch of stories, and I said at one point, what's your passion? Like, is managing this place like your dream for the rest of your life, or do you have like hobbies? Do you like to crochet or whatever? And he said, no. I have 5,000 dolls or puppets. I don't remember what it was, but it could have been dolls at home in my closet, and I'd like to open a puppet museum.
Wow.
And I just remember being like, what? Like, super judgmental. Like, you don't strike me as a puppet person, or a doll person. And yeah, so it was just unexpected, and it stuck with me. And it was part of like my journal. I wrote my journal, obviously, on the tour about that and other things along that journey. And those pieces from the Netherlands came out in this song, really. So it's a love song for a place, and I thought it was appropriate to talk about now because where we haven't been able to travel, and I mean, we have so many places that we love and people we want to see. There's that craving, that desire again to go back to some of these places and explore and just take in all the sights and sounds.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's one thing that I think as songwriters you do miss. It's those random conversations that you have with people after a gig or before a gig or in a hotel or a bar or something.
Yeah.
And then that's where songs can come from sometimes. And yeah, being denied the chance to do that, it does leave us kind of, wanting to go back to these places. So I think that's a perfect kind of thing. So let's give it a listen. So for anyone listening on audio, you should be able to hear it. Anyone watching, thank you for watching first and foremost. We will play the video for you.
Oh, I've just unmuted myself. Is that okay? You're muted. You need to unmute.
Okay, yeah. So I have some technical issues with the sharing of videos sometimes, which
Oh
any
dear.
listener, any regular viewer of this podcast will know. It's a problem, and we're trying to sort
I
it out. So
Oh, hold on. I think it's a cool technique to get people then to go listen,
yeah,
like outside because they couldn't get get
I
a
know.
grasp
Yeah,
for what it was.
yeah. So let's try that again, so we can actually hear the song, which would be really nice.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself.
Cool.
Last time I saw you was the first time I loved you, just like my old wedding band. I walked alongside your crowds, poisoned by chatterbox. How many songs have they written about you? All in Paris, New York, or Venice. How many women and men stayed hungry, came with you? Pick up your accent and take you back home. Sex and money, exchanges with honey. 5,000 puppets dance nightly on rooftops, yeah, yeah. Dream to release them in your puppet museum. You said people will pay to see my display. All in Paris, New York, or Venice. How many women and men stayed hungry, came with you? Pick up your accent and take you back home.
Great. Oh, I love that song. And we had some comments in there. Yes, I love this song. I think that's probably my mum as well.
That's your mom. Thank you.
She's a favourite of hers.
Thanks, Claire.
I love the story behind it, but also like I really love the way the guitar wails at the start as well. Is that Dale on guitar?
Yeah,
On
that's
that song?
Dale.
Yeah,
I love the part of the recordings process where Dale adds his guitar parts, and he's produced that album and has engineered, mixed, produced, co-produced my album since 2008. And it's just really exciting every time we do a record to hear his parts. I love that
yeah,
part. I don't like my parts, but I love his. So yeah,
I think Dale is like one of the most tasteful guitar players. I remember seeing when you played live, and it just uplifted the song so much. His parts, and just there I was hearing bits that I've not heard before, just because I got it in my headphones this time. So I was like, oh, that's really nice. And
yeah.
those solos at the end, they're really cool as well. And I really like the lyric, people will pay to see my display. That's a really, it makes a lot of sense, but it rhymes, but it's also pretty cool as well when you've heard the story as well.
Well, it's I think as as a musician, a performer too, we know what that's like. Like people will pay
Yeah.
to see us play, and it seemed this guy seemed to be convinced that people will pay to see my puppets. Like I'm like, okay, I'll get it. Yeah, it could be a thing. I mean, there is a puppet museum, by the way, in Amsterdam, which I've never been to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Somebody brought that to my attention. A few people have at the shows, and I suppose I need to get back to visit it. I don't think it's his. I think it's, it was already there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll pass on your comments to Dale. Dale, Elliot
Yeah.
loves your guitar playing.
I still have to get him to play on one of my songs once. We did talk about it briefly, but yeah, let's do that at some point. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that guy's boldness where he's going, I've got all these puppets. People are going to pay. Like I love that, and like you say, it is kind of like us with songs, I suppose. And yeah, we've got songs. People are going to want to hear them, I suppose. So
Well, it's we dream about, to me, this guy, I was encouraging him to do whatever it was he was telling me he wanted to do. Because, we're people who, songwriters, we're essentially, we're part of that, creating something that from nothing, I suppose.
yeah,
Or, maybe part of it for some people, it's, they're witness to channeling that stuff. They're able to channel it. But, it wasn't something that was audible before, and now there's this thing, and then there's a product, and I was like, dude, if we can do what we do, you can do this thing you're trying to tell me about. Just give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? One of my favorite things is to hear from friends that they're trying something they've always dreamed of and facing the fears and just living with it and doing it anyway, despite the terror,
yeah.
So that's something that really inspires me, just seeing people do what they want to do,
Yeah, me too, absolutely. And so I've got a few questions.
Critiques, criticisms about the song. Yeah, me too. Okay,
Don't worry about that. No.
great.
Yeah, this is the section where we tear the song apart, and
It's too slow. I know the tempo could have been up. We changed that in the live show. Okay.
But although that would be interesting, we're not going to do that because I love the song.
I will say though, I do mispronounce. There's a Dutch word in there. I say in the song de oude remise, and it's actually supposed to be pronounced de oude remise, I believe.
Oh,
it's
okay.
like the train depot, I think. I might be but I've been told that I mispronounced it on the album, and so that was
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry about that, but yeah, I saw that.
For your Dutch audience, watching.
We might have a few. We might have a few people watch this in the Netherlands, because I've been a few times to play there. Hopefully, there's a few people that may watch it. But there you go. So in terms of writing, whereabouts?
Yeah.
Because you obviously live in Nova Scotia, beautiful area of Canada, as far as I can tell. It looks lovely. Does the kind of countryside inspire you? Do you write a lot in the house? Because you have a studio connected to the house as well, don't you?
Yeah, I think it does. I didn't always did not always think that, like, I didn't understand that how my environment like influenced my songwriting. But after a decade of songwriting and now 2 decades, I mean, it's apparent to me that the places I live and travel, my surroundings, the people, everything, comes through at some point. And I mean, I have a song called Take My Body Home. It was kind of a story I dreamed up based on a gentleman who jumped off a bridge, down the road from where we live. And imagery of the surrounding area and that the water, of course. And I mean, so the short answer is yes. And obviously, like, the puppet museum is like a result of, if I hadn't traveled to all those places and met those people, that song wouldn't have resulted. It just wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a neat way of documentation, really, for me in my life. This desk here is one of my desks that I could be found writing at. Hit this one here as well. I have a lot of desks that I like. I'm not very, good at sitting still, so I like to have options. There's a couple rooms in the house that I'll go to and for different view, or just, maybe one room feels more calm than another for some reason. So I might write in my bedroom, or my office here used to be in my bedroom until I took over this guest room. So sorry, Elliot, that's one less guest room, but we do have another guest room for you when you want to come visit.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's just you can't bring your parents with you at the same time, so they'll have to come separate.
That's all right. I'm sure they can go separately on holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, no problem. Yeah.
The funny thing was, I was planning on coming to Canada at some point in the last year or two, but obviously because of the COVID, that hasn't been able to happen. But it will be on my list to do as soon as I possibly can.
Well, it may be like in this part of Canada right for now, and anyway, has very, very low numbers, and but I mean, we're just across the water from each other, so when you're ready to start, booking your tour dates, let me know, because I have my database and whatnot, and I could share and give advice. And it's touring Canada is its own beast, right? Because you have to travel so far, and it's it can seem a little daunting. So I think your first tour for an artist from the UK might, the realistic goals are like, we want to see Canada, and we're kind of have money to spend. And we're going to be driving a lot. So give yourself a lot of time and budget, and of course, performing along the way is I think people are very, very open and responsive to people coming and touring from overseas. So.
Yeah. I look forward to trying to do it at some point, because it's always somewhere I've wanted to go, and I'll come and knock on your door at some point.
Give us a heads up, so
I'll give you some notice.
Tell you how to get here. It's a dirt road. You might miss it.
Yeah.
But we actually just have you have a million highways. We have my friend from the Netherlands came to record once, and he was like, "This is unbelievable. There's one highway. You get out of the airport and you take that one highway."
Really?
Almost literally brought me to your house, and there were not many cars along the way. It's between cities, and it's quite easy to direct yourself, I suppose. Yeah, whereas it's a nightmare overseas unless you have GPS.
Yeah, and you've driven across vast areas of Europe, I suppose, haven't you?
Yeah, mainly like, I mean, Central Europe, so Germany,
Mm.
Poland, Netherlands, Denmark, also recently,
Oh, cool.
Austria, Switzerland. That's about it. And then all over the UK. Yeah, up to Scotland. We covered a lot of ground. There's still more though. Still more ground to cover.
Still more to do. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, Scotland actually. I've never played a gig in Scotland. I've played in Ireland before, played in
Hmm.
Wales, but never Scotland actually. That would be interesting. There's some beautiful. The Scottish Highlands are apparently are really beautiful. So I
Hmm.
have to go and
Yeah.
check them out at some point. And a kind of question I ask everyone kind of on the podcast is, where do you, not where do you write, but are you kind of like a morning writer, or do you write during the day, or do you like writing at night, or can it be a bit of a mixture of all three?
I'm mainly a morning writer because by noon I'm too distracted with
Yeah,
everything else I have to do just to, business admin stuff like and planning and self-care and stuff. So I'm a morning person before my brain gets too distracted. Yeah, but when I started writing songs like 20 years ago, it was the opposite. It was evenings because I was single and I had that time was my time. So it was really nighttime where I would write predominantly.
yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
flipped it.
I'm more of a nighttime writer, to be honest. But
Yeah.
then lockdown has been interesting because I've had so much more time in the day. So there's been scope to do things at times when I hadn't ever thought of doing things really.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's another bonus of it. So we've got a couple of questions here, I think. This one's a good one that leads us into the kind of influences section of the podcast when we start to talk about covers and stuff. And I know there's a few influences that you've got, which I share as well. Which artist has influenced you the most with your songwriting and music?
This one's really tough for me to answer because there are at different times in my life it's changed. Like when I started writing songs, I was living in Austin, Texas, so I was kind of more influenced by singer-songwriters that were really introduced to me by my friends or the people the people I was living with who were my friends and kind of newfound family at the time. So Sean Colvin would have been an earlier
Hmm.
singer songwriter. Steve Earle, kind of like in the Americana genre. I found discovered by living there and my friends' music they were listening to, like the Jayhawks and Wilco,
Oh, cool, yeah.
Lucinda Williams. And then, but growing up, I was into pop music. So what everyone else was into, watching music videos online and what was on the radio. So it was a lot of pop and rock, sometimes country, like, but new
Hmm.
country, I guess. Growing up with my girlfriends in Grand Falls, New Brunswick, like we just on the radio, that was all they played was like kind of country music, really, and Garth Brooks. And I mean, I don't think not there's anything wrong with Garth Brooks. I think he's an incredible entertainer and performing artist. But I won't say that music really influenced my songwriting. I think it was more like the singer songwriters like Patty Griffin and Sean Colvin
Yeah.
early on. And then it sort of when I kind of rediscovered Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Tom Petty was a big influence. But then there's the singers. So I always had in mind I wanted to be a better performer and put on bigger shows. And I was really into like singers like Annie Lennox and Tina Turner and Roy Orbison and
Oh, yeah.
these people that were able to Whitney Houston. And so there were those influencers, and then there were the songwriters that maybe like Paul Westerberg, we're going to share a song of his, but didn't have maybe like that power voice or the prettiest voice, but I was just so drawn to the raw honesty and kind of a roughness. And this kind of segues into Paul Westerberg because
Yeah.
one of the first songs I heard of Sean Colvin's performing, which I didn't know for many years, was a Paul Westerberg song called "Here We Are." and I was obsessed with this song. And she hadn't written it, but I didn't know that at the time, and that kind of introduced me to Paul Westerberg when I found out that he wrote that song, and I started digging in and listening a little bit more to his music, and I came across this song called "It's a Wonderful Lie," and that's the song that we were going to talk about or share with your viewers today, because it Paul, in sort of a roundabout way, eventually became more of an influence on my songwriting, and kind of listening to songs like that, or that style of maybe darker, gave me permission to tap into those things that I maybe was feeling self-conscious about, because people would tell me over the years, not many, but like some people would be like, well, this is such a downer song, and I would start to think I needed to write more upbeat, songs for radio and appease people, and I kind of wanted to be an artist, and I still do that kind of lets the songs lead me, and
Yeah.
isn't so concerned about that, because I'm not, I'm not writing songs that'll be hits. Like, I'm writing songs that carry meaning and integrity to me, and hopefully they'll have an audience. So when we did the Wonderful Lie covers / 4 originals album in 2019, I wanted to kind of pay tribute to or recognize that Paul's music did have an influence on me writing wise, and we covered that song, "It's a Wonderful Lie," and yeah, but I like his version. I think I shared a link with you. He was performing it on television.
I think it's on Jules Holland, isn't it? I think on the Jules Holland show. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is a very British kind of British institution, really. It's like, I think it's the only music show on TV really now. Like, most of them have gone.
Yeah, what's Graham Norton? Is he still around? That's
He's
one
still yeah. He does more of a chat show these days.
Yeah. Oh, right. You're right. Yeah. I
They
always
have
wanted
the
to
odd
be on.
bit of music.
I always wanted to be on Graham Norton, or Jules Holland would be up there as well. I think my friend Sam Carter. Do you know Sam Carter?
I've heard of Sam Carter. Yeah,
From Sheffield, and he performed on there. And when I found that out, I was like, "That's amazing! Like that's like as good as it gets. Like it's pretty awesome." So yeah, but I like this song. I don't know why actually I was drawn to it. Maybe it was, I guess I liked that it was pretty raw sounding, like as if Paul's just kind of in the room playing for you, and it just he mentions like wonderful lie. I guess just the word lie makes me think about all the lies we tell ourselves and each other, like to make ourselves feel better about the choices we make. And on this kind of like, I'm somebody who, like, I'm on a search for truth and honesty and authenticity, but I mean, I still tell myself lies all the time, and I probably like really value some of the lies that people tell me about myself and maybe my music, just to make me feel better sometimes. But like we were on this search for honesty and truth, but yet we still just a bunch of liars part of the time. But yeah. Claire, I really meant that I loved the meal when we so.
That wasn't a lie. No, it was.
No, that was authentic. A good positive. Yes, we had a great meal.
That was a lovely meal, actually. That was a rare time I had a decent meal before I did a gig, and it's normally some rubbish that I pick up from wherever. But yeah, I think we do kind of, there's a certain amount of lies, I suppose, which are healthy and that have to be have to be told sometimes, and people do tell themselves lies. I think you're right. And if you get the balance right, I suppose you're onto a good thing. And but yeah, I think the one thing about this podcast is that I think authenticity is at the heart of it, and you're very much an artist that is very authentic. You can tell that by the sound of the music, but also knowing some of your influences, but also the way you tell the stories live as well. I think that really struck me when I first discovered your music. And I think that's an important thing that all my favourite artists have, I think.
Go on. Just kidding. Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, and I know we share a love for Tom Petty, and I was absolutely gutted when Tom Petty kind of left us, but
Yeah.
I feel like listening to your music as well, it brings me back a bit to Tom Petty as well, and I always love that.
You know, the one of our last concerts that we attended was in 2017, and it was Stevie Nicks was opening for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers in Hyde Park, London, and we went home and finished the record Impossible to Hold, and I mean that song, the title track, every time I sing it, I think of that concert and this sort of untouchable icon. That it's funny, like he's no longer here, you know, physically, but when you listen to his music, that's such the powerful, wonderful, magical thing about music is that it takes you back, or it makes you feel this connection to something or someone, even if you don't even know them. You know, it sort of speaks to the connectivity and the, I guess, longevity of perhaps the soul. Oh, now we're getting deep. But yeah, Tom Petty.
And I think that's when celebrities die or whatever, or musicians, it's very easy to kind of like, you know, align yourself with them, and you know you've been a fan or whatever. But there's a few, and Bowie was another one for me. That I remember. I'll always remember when I heard that they'd passed away, because those artists just seem to hold some deep rooted kind of influence in me, and love, I suppose. I just love their music, and
same.
And I'm glad that it's, you know, that it's still, we've got it forever, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've done a really, Bowie and Tom Petty and his crew, his team, really great job at preserving the music and presenting it and making it accessible to people, even after their life. Like, I feel like it was part of Bowie's plan, you know, and his parting album and life beyond the physical, which is really interesting. And I think about him, Bowie, every time I do a new album and I'm planning like a band show and what we're going to do with it. And we're actually reading a Rolling Stone review of you know, the span of his life and who he was and his career, and we're watching a documentary at the same time. But all these things really, you know, help inspire you when you're in the middle of your own projects, I find.
Yeah.
And help give you the juice to keep going sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think this brings it to a nice kind of close. We've touched on quite a few different things, loads of influences, loads of the reason behind the music, which is what I try and do with this podcast, is try and find out why the music's made and how it's made. And, you know, we've done a little bit of that. Obviously, we could chat for hours probably about each individual song, and that'd be fun. But
I mean, we won't, but we could. Of course we could.
We could,
yeah. Well, we could talk about anything for a long time. That's what I love about you, and what we really connected, and I'm glad that you asked me to do this, so thank you.
Yeah, and thanks so much for coming on. What we'll do is we'll listen to the song as the show plays out. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you can. Elliot Porter Music. Please check out Christina Martin. Is it ChristinaMartin.net, I think?
Yep.
Yep.
ChristinaMartin.net. Yep.
Please check out Christina's music. You can find it all over the place. And tune in next week when I'll have another fantastic songwriter to share their music with you. So we shall play the song out. Would you like to tell them what it's called? Because you know more about it than me.
Sure, yeah. So this is It's a Wonderful Lie by Paul Westerberg. And I believe you said he was playing this Jules Holland. I can't remember.
It's a Jules Holland episode, I think.
Yeah. And then we covered don't compare them too much, but on my album Wonderful Lie. But enjoy if you haven't discovered Paul Westerberg yet.
Okay, here we go.
Our next artist came on with the group The Replacements, but now he's here on his own. He's got a lovely song. He's going to play it for us in this chair here. Mr. Paul Westerberg.
Get up from a dream and I look for rain, taking amphetamine in a crushed rat brain. How am I feeling? Better, I suppose. How am I looking? I don't want the truth. What am I doing? I ain't in my youth. Past my prime, was that just a pose? It's so wonderful I still get by on those. I've been accused of never opening up. You get too close and I keep my mouth shut. Gonna run to the wind where the big bad city blows. It's a wonderful lie, I still get by on those. It's a wonderful lie, still get by on those. Dress to the eights, you can dress to name. Make you feel great, this fortune and fame. Wearing too much makeup, not near enough clothes. It's a wonderful lie, I still get by on those. It's a wonderful lie, I still get by. So don't pin your hopes or pin your dreams to misanthropes, guys like me. And the truth is, overrated, I suppose. It's a wonderful lie, I still get by on those. It's a wonderful lie, I still get.
Again.
Paul Westerberg. It's a wonderful lie from the Sugarcane Gratification